From Dennis Bergkamp to Alan Shearer and Gianfranco Zola, the list of world-class players to grace the Premier League during the 1990s goes on and on. Particularly towards the end of the 90s, England's newly revamped top flight was really making its mark as one of the world's best divisions, with a growing audience and captivating foreign imports, which all culminated in Manchester United's 1999 Champions League final victory over Bayern Munich. We ought not get too misty-eyed though. Whilst the 1990s were an entertaining time for English football, with even the country's national team competing at major tournaments, it was also a time in which some truly dreadful players featured in the Premier League. For every David Beckham, there's a William Prunier, and it's that second breed of player that we focus on here. From hopeful lower league flops to costly foreign imports, all these players were hopeless in the Premier League. Here are our 7 worst Premier League players of the 1990s and what they're up to now. Istvan Kozma. Despite never finishing in the bottom half of the Premier League table and regularly competing at the top end of the division, Liverpool had some really bad players in the 1990s, and Istvan Kozma was possibly the worst. The former Hungarian international played just 1 Premier League game and 6 in all competitions at Anfield. Kozma was named the 4th worst Premier League player ever in the Times' list of the 50 worst footballers in Premier League history. One of a number of Graham Souness blunders, the Reds paid just £300,000 for the midfielder, but it was £300,000 more than Kozma's performances suggested that he was worth. The 52-year-old moved into coaching upon his retirement, but is currently without a job, having most recently served as the assistant manager for the once great Hungarian outfit of the SAS. Moussa Saib. When it comes to useless Tottenham signings of the 1990s, you can take your pick, and we have, opting for former Algerian international Moussa Saib. Signed at a time when Spurs were struggling at the foot of the Premier League table, Saib had failed to break into the Valencia team and thus happily made the switch to North London. Despite George Graham's men having difficulties in the league, Saib still only made 13 league appearances in 2 years at White Hart Lane. He may have won 74 caps for Algeria, but Saib is widely regarded among Tottenham fans as one of the club's worst ever players. He swapped the lane for Saudi Arabia in 2000 and played his last game for Algeria a year later. Almost signed by North London rivals Arsenal a year before joining Spurs, a 48-year-old Saib is now an out-of-work manager, having last served as JS Kabyli's boss in 2011. Massimo Taibi. He may be the greatest manager in the history of the game, but that doesn't mean Sir Alex Ferguson was immune from the odd dreadful signing. Massimo Taibi is right up there among the worst, alongside the likes of Bebe and Eric Djemba-Djemba. Taibi was somewhat amusingly brought in to replace one of the greatest goalkeepers of all time, in the form of Peter Schmeichel, but replace the Great Dane he did not. Taibi held his own on his debut. Although his mistake led to a Liverpool goal, he made amends with a string of smart stops in a 3-2 win. However, letting a Matt Letizia shot through his legs in comical fashion against Southampton was where Ferguson drew the line. He played just 4 league games for United, being dubbed the Blind Venetian, and swiftly returning to Italy after a single season. The uncapped Italian was most recently head of youth development at Modena. Marko Burgers. From Ruud van Nistelrooy to Dennis Bergkamp, some magnificent Dutch players have graced the Premier League over the years, but there have also been a number of disappointing recruits from the Netherlands, of which Marko Burgers is certainly one. Signed for £1 million by West Ham in 1995, Burgers played just 4 Premier League games in 3 years with the Hammers. Widely regarded as one of the most useless forwards to ever pull on the claret and blue of West Ham, he was signed by Harry Redknapp despite old Harry having never seen the forward play. He made his debut as a sub against Manchester United and was sent off moments later for a horrific tackle on Gary Neville, and his next 3 performances were hardly an improvement. The 50-year-old now serves as technical director at FC Dordrecht. Brett Angel. The best case of a player who excelled in the English lower leagues only to be hopelessly exposed when making the step up to the Premier League is Brett Angel. Signed by Everton from Southend United for £500,000 in 1994, the striker scored once in 18 Premier League games at Goodison Park. Somehow though, the Toffees managed to convince Sunderland to pay £600,000 for their now injury-prone and misfiring forward. The former Stockport man was no more prolific in the North East, failing to score in 10 Premier League outings for the Black Cats. He dropped back down into the lower leagues following his time at the Stadium of Light and became a regular goal-getter once again. The towering forward ended his playing career in 2003 and currently manages one of the top teams in New Zealand, Hawke's Bay United. Thomas Brolin. The most technically gifted player on this list, yet he ranks second among the worst Premier League players of the 90s. Thomas Brolin was a creative and goal-scoring force from midfield that any team would fear in the early 1990s. The Swedish attacking midfielder won the Coppa Italia, the UEFA Cup, the Super Cup and more with Parma, as well as recording a third-place finish at the 1994 World Cup with Sweden and reaching the semi-finals of the Euros in 1992. For both club and country, Brolin was a talisman, winning the Golden Boot at the Euros, being named in the World Cup All-Star 11 and finishing fourth in the Ballon d'Or voting in 1994. Unsurprisingly then, there was much excitement when he joined Leeds United in 1995. Sadly for fans of the Yorkshire club though, Brolin was already a shadow of his former self. The £4.5 million signing had numerous injuries and fitness problems, as well as falling out with manager Howard Wilkinson. Brolin played a total of 32 Premier League games, 19 for Leeds and 13 for Crystal Palace, scoring 4 goals. Widely regarded as one of the worst signings and players in Premier League history, Brolin retired at 28, becoming a businessman in his native Sweden. Brolin's business ventures include owning a restaurant, investing in real estate, and playing on the World Series of Poker. Aly Diarra. Barely a Premier League player, but 53 minutes of football for Southampton in a defeat to Leeds United in 1996 puts him down as one nonetheless. Diarra is a retired Senegalese footballer whose ill-fated and brief stint with Southampton is the stuff of legend and shrouded in mystery. Much mistruth has been spoken of Diarra, but the player's refusal to comment on his time on the South Coast has left some struggling to pick apart the facts from the fiction. Legend has it that Graham Souness received a phone call telling him to offer Diarra a contract as he was a talented player and a relative of the Ballon d'Or winner George Weah. Souness did so, and Diarra made a solitary appearance for the Saints, in which it was immediately obvious he wasn't cut out to play at such an elite level. Now aged 52, Diarra is a very private man, but some reports suggest he's now a businessman, currently working in London, having previously been based in Qatar. So that's it for our top 7, but there are a number of honourable mentions in the video description below. Thanks for watching, give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and don't forget to subscribe to HITC Sevens.